Hey, True Believers England team here with Eric Back Issue Brain. That's when you say hi.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something.
Yeah. Introduce yourself to the people who've known you for 8 years.
Probably need to come up with a different name since I'm not doing comics anymore.
Well, you're doing back issues, right?
Nah, not even that anymore. Maybe something to do with pulp, but I don't know how to work that in.
Oh yeah, pulp issues. Yeah, that doesn't have the same ring as back issue Brain. I'll still use it because you're still the guy who I'll go, hey, you remember that book where that guy did that thing with the other thing, and you'll go, that's issue so and so, and that's cool enough. That's cool enough. Although you okay, so going ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
So today we're going to be talking about single issue stories. I wanted to make sure it wasn't a part of a big story, because like chapter 3 of Watchmen, or I get it if it was like a really great story of, say, like No Man's Land, or something that was 5,000 issues. I get that kind of thing. And Eric said, yeah, well, what about those that are like part 1 of 2 or something like that? We get that. But what we're trying to avoid, I was really trying to avoid, was those kind of things, those big, just the individual issues. The one I used for the thumbnail, I even questioned whether or not I wanted to use it, but I figured, what the hell. Dom was supposed to be here. We are starting a little bit early. So I thought add on one more and let's do 10. The book, I have this one issue of Batman. God bless anyone who finds this for me, because I have searched, I grokked, I AI'd it, whatever. But there's a single issue of Batman that I've absolutely loved, but I can't even remember the number anymore, where it's in the point of view of the criminal, and he brags to everybody, I never dropped my gun. And it's a great story. Couldn't tell you what number it is, saved my life. I literally went through to read comics online, and I went 400 to 500, and then I skipped, of course, the Nightfall stuff, and I went 5 to 6. I went 650 on detectives. I went the same with Batman. I must have looked at 100 comics today on both Batman and it's probably Shadow of the Bat or something like that. But, yeah, I missed it. More than a bit early on time would be early. Yeah, that's true, Dark Admiral. That is true. But I think we picked out some good books. I'm glad there's one that Eric picked out that I'm glad gets mentioned, because I did not pick it myself, and I'm actually happy that I thought about it, but we did. We picked ours separately. I just asked what he was so I could have a cover to show you guys and everything. But I'm glad you picked at least one of the ones that you did. Dominic actually picked 2 very interesting out of left field ones to talk about. But I think we got some great comics. Also, we invite you guys to tell us what your favorite single issue stories are as well. Go along with us. So when we do book 1, you do book 1. Don't give us all 4. Don't spoil it. Let's do 1 through 4, however you want to order them. And should be a good time should be had. And I got to tell you, I am glad we're talking about comic books again, not just the covers. Let's talk about what's inside the covers and everything. And with that, I will let my co-host here start us off with his first issue.
All right. Well,
maybe I'll get the bird.
Since you have 4, I'm going to do an honorable mention that I just saw in the chat that I can't believe I didn't use. You were
Hold on just a second. I'll find it.
Well, it might be one of yours or Dom's. I don't know. Marvel 2-in-1 number 50.
Hold on just a sec. 2 Okay. Buddy, come on down. Come on down. You're the next contestant on the comic book is freaking right. Alrighty. You oh, by the way, I'm also adding to season 20. I decided screw it. I don't care. I'm going to keep these things going. These cover rankings. I love the fact that this is something we've never stopped. Something we've never stopped at all. And I'm on to season 20, and I started putting some stuff together for that. I've got 2 returns. I've got 2 books that we're returning to. Of course, I think it's 1940, and I just added Camelot 3000. We've never done the covers to that, so I added those as well as there's pirate comics. We've never done pirate comics. So El Cazador and Long John Silver, I think it was. So, and talk away, sir.
Okay. This one starts with Reed coming up with a cure for Ben's condition, gives it to him. It doesn't take. And he goes, well, yeah, my bad. Well, maybe we'll get it next time. And Reed and Sue go out, and Ben goes, he gets the idea. He goes, well, it didn't work because my body's become so accustomed to this form that it's harder for these formulas to work. He goes, what if I go back in time and give this to my younger self? So he hops on Dr. Doom's time machine, goes back to right after the Fantastic Four, got their powers. And of course, he runs into his earlier version, who doesn't believe him that he's him from the future, and he gets real pissed. He goes, I'd give my soul to look as human as you as they're fighting each other. And there's a scene where Ben picks up a car, and he goes, I'll just hit him with this old junker. He goes, what am I saying? This car's probably brand new in this time period. So he has some really neat little touches like that. And eventually he beats him, knocks him out, and pours the cure, the formula down his throat, and takes off. And Ben wakes up and reverts back to his human form. And he's like, whoever you are, you got my thanks, blah, 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 blah. And Ben goes, funny, I thought I would change back at the same time. So he goes back to the present. Of course, right as Reed and Sue get back, and Ben, and Reed goes, Ben, I thought you knew. He goes, anytime you go back into the past, you create a new timeline, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, you know what? He goes, that's okay. He goes, the last line he said was, compared to him, after getting a good look at that guy's kisser, I said, compared to him, I'm a regular Robert Redford. And that's how the story ends, and until issue 100 when they do the sequel of that story. But thought that was worth mentioning.
All righty. Okay, and if you don't mind, I'll do my number 4.
Please do.
And hopefully Dom will join us. Let's see. What do I got? Okay, I'll start. The one that you guys know about because you saw the thumbnail is I dog-eared this comic. I read this comic book, X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills, was a graphic novel. And back in the time, back in the day, our day, America, when I was a kid, these were oversized books. They were totally expensive at $6 each. I mean, that's way out there. And this one, there are things that happen in this book that just don't seem to happen in modern day comics, at least up to the point where I decided, I'm going to kind of step away. This book introduces the X-Men twice to make sure that you know who you're dealing with. First time we get the film starts off, or the comic book starts off. By the way, it's very cinematic. It starts off with we see these looks like a paramilitary team chasing down a couple of kids. We find out they're mutants. They kill them. Then we see Magneto meet up with him. We get the whole setup. He tells the whole story. Mutants are hunted for just being who they are. Eric being at that time, I don't know if they've changed this because he'd be 100 years old at this point, but he was a Holocaust survivor, and it kind of goes into that. And we flash back to, I guess we move over and we see the bad guy. He's a priest, a reverend, Stryker. He used to be a military man, and now he leads this team who go against mutants. And it's them studying the X-Men. And later, we get a Danger Room scene, which once again goes through the whole thing, and it tells you who everybody is and what they could do. And it's in-story introductions. I love that kind of thing. The book is darker than your normal X-Men issue also. With, like I said, you got Death of Children. You got Kitty Pryde dropping the N-bomb, which we learn in New Mutants. This ain't new for her. She's very much, if you're going to say bad things about me, I don't give a if I say bad things about you kind of character. That was found out. The book is just incredibly well written. This is Chris Claremont, in my opinion, at the peak of his game. And it's incredibly tense. And it very much was what we talk about when anybody ever says, well, comics have always been political. Yeah, but they were about broad things, you know? They weren't accusing the reader of anything. They were accusing the action, not the reader. And this one is perfect for it. It really does tackle not only racism, but bigotry itself, which I do believe in the definition, the dictionary definition of bigotry being personal beliefs, not racism. Some people use it as just another word for racism. Art's fantastic. Like I said, this is Chris Claremont at his peak. A fantastic story. Absolutely wonderful story. I'm sure if you have anything to say about it, Eric.
You know, when they reissued it a few years ago, they censored.
Yeah, what about? Really?
Yes.
What'd they censor?
What do you think?
Oh, really? They cut that scene out?
Yep. Or blacked it out, the word, whatever. They did something. But it was the point to where my friend Jerry was so disgusted by that he gave his copy to Maranya. They'd never met. Maranya wanted,
wow, that's ridiculous.
To her. It was a nice gesture on Jerry's part, but it was ridiculous that it was, that they, because remember they censored the Power Man Epic Collection from a word that Steve Englehart used to describe Jewish folk, I think, or some nationality, and he apologized in the foreword. I said
it's ridiculous. I contend that we were less racist then than we are now.
Oh, no
as
question.
A country. I mean, and part of it was that we accepted differences. We didn't say that, there's no, there are, and who cares?
In the 40 years since this book has come out, and yes, it's been that long,
you're right.
The conversation has become one-sided because one side has been effectively censored from participating in the conversation and has to use similarly hued proxies to get their points across because we are no longer allowed to. And that's why something that was fine to print in 1985 doesn't get printed in whatever it would have been 2019, 2020.
But yeah, we're the fascists. Okay. Jackson, by the way, is mentioning a book here. I did get the cover. I'm not going to do this for all of them. I thought, wow, if I do this, it's just going to be way too much work and I'm not going to be in the moment. But Jackson brought this one up, and that is Fred Hembeck wrote the Fantastic Four. I got to tell you, in Marvel Age, Fred Hembeck, they gave Fred Hembeck a page in every Marvel Age. I look forward to it. I love Fred Hembeck comics. I think they're fun. I think they're funny. I think, of course, within reason, they're not going to let him tear apart the company too much, but within reason, he parodies and makes fun of the Marvel Universe. This is absolutely a good time, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last. Also, this is the last cover I gathered because I was like, when Eric was talking, I realized, I can't do this because I'm not in the moment. I'm not listening in, and that's just rude. And for some reason, my headphones got turned down, or the bird got turned up. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Austin says 7. Clint says 7 for some reason. 8 from one slick. Guys, we're just listing our favorites, not ranking covers. I was ranking their choice out of 10, says Clint. No, you're not. You're not giving God Loves Me and Kills a 6 or a 7. No. Let's see. I know we're not ranking the covers, but I would give it a 10 if I were. This is Tony Hayes. Kitty Pryde is based. Yeah. They were seldom partisan. They were some partisan politics, but not common. Tony Isabella's was a partisan writer. Well, yeah. That's what I've always said. It's not that they weren't. People always go, "Oh, they were political back in the day," so you're wrong. It shows how, and I'm not hashtag all. I haven't met anyone who hasn't done this. It shows how bad faith some people on the left are.
Okay,
because you'll say they do politics wrong in comics, and they go, "Well, they've done politics forever." I didn't say that. You're just moving the fucking goal. By the way, for those of you who are on Sports Ball, you have seen that recently I posted an interaction between me and Eric Larson. I should do a video about it. I know. I will. The man's a freaking dumbass. He's a freaking dumbass. And I only say freaking because I haven't dropped an F-bomb yet in this video, and I wonder if I could go all the way. What were you saying, Eric?
I was going to say, well, Clint, first of all, how dare you dead name Jenny Isabella? Not sure if he's still doing that or not, but no, I don't even think he was a partisan writer in the 70s. Black Lightning is one of my favorite. That first story arc is, in my opinion, one of the best story arcs of the 70s from either company. And it really wasn't partisan. It was just later in life when a lot of people that should have known better, let their freak flags fly in the wrong direction. But that's neither here nor there. But like I said, I liked his champions. I thought at one point, he was never as good as he thought he was, because when he did the book 1,000 Comics You Need to Read Before You Die, there were a lot of Tony Isabella stories in there. And so, but yeah, it's, I lost train of thought. Well, that's anyway.
Right. Okay, so I had to delete a comment. I have one rule: no slurs. Absolutely no slurs. Even if it's in a question, I don't care if you're kidding. No slurs. Not happening. That being said, I don't see Tony. You're still there. I didn't want to delete Tony. I just wanted to delete the comment. But I don't allow it.
That he slams Republicans in Black Goliath. A lot of writers, took shots at him, but it's nothing like it is today. I don't remember it really standing out in those issues. I said that's all right. Okay, so let me hit 2, and we'll go to your number 2 pick. And once again, hopefully Dom will be showing up. Is Tony Hayes still here?
I want to make sure I didn't delete him. I didn't mean to. I hit delete comment, not ban the person or anything. I want to make sure I didn't do that. Okay, but he was, I think he was joking around, and he put 2 slurs in the things. The problem is that YouTube has started to. Am I roboting?
No.
Okay, good. YouTube started to say that if somebody says something wrong in the comment section, you're responsible. Like if you guys start slurring it up, and I'm responsible for it. I don't know how that works, but yeah. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason, I just think it's disrespectful, but yeah, that's one of the main reasons. Okay, let me make sure he's still here. I wanted to get rid of the comment, not him. Voice on versus calling. Settings. If Tony pops up in the comments, let me know. Load iconic, community moderation. Blocked words. I guess I don't have those. I didn't think about those 2 words, I guess. I guess I should. You see, Tony?
Nope.
Shit. Okay, how do I get him back? Let's see.
Well, he might have left after you did that.
Well, maybe he did. I don't know, but I just want to make sure. I mean, I can't. I do have my rules. Okay, I'm not seeing him in the hidden users. Okay. What's going on?
Clint, his last name, Tony, we love you. Perfect.
Yeah, the thing is, I actually did because John Delaroz, the last person I did that to, I meant to, because he dropped a couple of F-bombs, meaning gay people, even after I said, please don't do that, please don't do that. And then after like the 3rd or 4th, I was like, okay, you're done. But I don't see Tony on the users.
He is.
Okay.
I had to take a piss. What happened?
All right, fine. Woo! I was worried, man. I was worried I accidentally blocked you because I deleted your comment. I don't allow slurs in the comments. I didn't think you were being mean or anything. It actually sounded like either 1, you were being serious about the question, or 2, you were joking. So I didn't think you were being mean about it, but I can't allow slurs in the chat because YouTube started to blame the host for, like, if some guy comes up and starts N-word this, N-word that, for some reason they look at me and say, oh, you were saying that. No. Pac-Man did not shoot that guy during the cop parade in colors, but he got blamed. I don't want to be Pac-Man. Okay, anyway. Let's see. Old People Know. Great movie, by the way. Robert Duvall and Sean Penn. All righty, there we go. He's back. We can continue. All right, so let's see. Let's get back to it. Eric, what is your second book? And hey, we gave a little more extra time for Dom to jump in. Yeah. What is your second book?
Well,
you
this
want to
by
talk
no
about?
means in any particular order, but
Of course.
Fantastic Four 285.
I love the fact that you included this one. I really do.
All right. This was a a great example of making lemonade out of lemons. There's no secret that John Byrne did not like having to alter his story to fit the Beyonder. And in fact, I think that might have been one of the things that helped lead to his exit. But the story is this little kid who's got no friends in school, picked on, blah, 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 but he loves the Human Torch. So he wants to be just like him. So he sets himself on fire and basically mortally injures himself. And he's in a hospital, basically, running out the clock. And the Fantastic Four goes to visit him. Johnny takes it personally and says he can't be the Human Torch anymore. And then whereas it should have been almost any other character, he gets the Beyonder takes Johnny on like a journey through this kid's life and makes him realize that if it wasn't for him, he would have had no joy in life because this poor kid was just, neglected everywhere, blah, blah, blah. He goes, he said something really poignant at the end. He's like, he wasn't trying to live, or it wasn't because of you that he died. It was through you that he lived. And whatever it was he said, resonated with Johnny, and he agreed to continue to be the Torch. But it just had some really touching moments in it. And for a guy that basically was writing the story under duress, it really came out pretty well.
Okay. I remember this one. I remember that. Is this the one where the kid wraps himself in toilet paper? Maybe I'm thinking.
I don't know if it's specified toilet paper, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He wraps himself in something and that's how he sets it on fire and such. I remember this one. This is really good. This is a really powerful single issue, which is one of the reasons we wanted to do this, is because sometimes these single issue stories get lost. Unless of course they are graphic novels like The God Loves Me and Kills. These excellent stories. There are so many great comic books out there, and it really does seem like, especially if you're into Key Collector and all that kind of stuff, you skip over so many because it's not worth $1,000. And who even those that are getting those key collections, when do they ever talk about what's on the inside of the book? So by all means, thank you for joining us to talk about these. All righty, let's see. What do I want to talk about next in my bunch? This is a book that's almost forgotten now. 1990s Animal Man. It wasn't a typical superhero story at all, and absolutely 100% got proven to that you're going to be on a different kind of journey with issue number 5, otherwise known as the Wile E. Coyote issue. So, and by the way, got to tell you, there is so much on this cover that is absolutely in the book, including the God hand, by the way, of the artist. This is absolutely the story of Jesus. This is not the story of Jesus as in, Mary and Joseph went to the inn and all that kind of stuff. But what it is there is, it starts off with this guy. He picked up this hitchhiker, and he's talking about how, she's lucky she met a nice guy. And as they're talking and they get to joking around, and he doesn't pay attention, and he starts to barrel down a coyote. who is, by the way, on two legs running in it, and he gets hit. And you see the coyote. Coyote is twisted, guts are everywhere. It's very graphic. And then he starts to heal. And we are then given a story where we find out that this coyote was a part of a cartoon universe. And the cartoon universe changed when the coyote agreed to take on all the pains of the world, man's sins. But that meant that he would continuously feel the pain of the man's world. And so very much like a cartoon, he would continuously die and come back and die and come back. And he had an agent of Satan chasing him, always killing him. So it's kind of like a reverse Roadrunner, where instead of Wile E. Coyote chasing the Roadrunner and occasionally in falling into his own traps, it's evil chasing good and constantly destroying it, but good always comes back. It's obviously an analogy. Like I said, it's obviously a book about Jesus. It is incredibly deep. It's one of the first books that I read after Watchmen and V for Vendetta and all that it was like, okay, DC Comics are growing up. This was one of the reasons why, even though I bought both Marvel and DC, I always called myself a DC, because DC Comics seemed more to want to stretch what comic book storytelling could be. You know, you could put themes in there. You could put things like that beyond just, here's a guy with superpowers, here's a guy with superpowers, let's make them knock heads. And it's an incredible story. I think this book is damn near perfect, except for a vegetarian rant from Buddy Baker, which, of course, it's the writer, it's Grant Morrison, but it's oh, we're not eating meat. These were animals. They used to be animals. Do you know that? I always hated that, because my whole thought of, you're not being cruel. Have you seen nature? In nature, animal eat animal, and they aren't nice about it. Excuse me, can I have your hind leg, please? No. So I've never, I never bought into that. And he's wearing a pink half shirt and short shorts. So I was like, okay, I don't think you're married to this woman. But that's about the only bad part. Otherwise, this is an incredibly deep, and I would recommend the entire run, by the way, the entire run of Animal Man from the 1990s. This is an excellent issue. Fan-freaking-tastic. All righty, and on number 2, let's see, after we get back to Cy, where's my Beyonder, says Jackson. I might almost be a world-famous troll to some people, says Tony Hayes. Austin says, one of my favorite comic book stories, Batman 239. It's 1970s Batman catching a mugger dressed as Santa, but he lets him prove his alibi and being laid off by a greedy boss and not being. I have this book. I know what you're talking about. It's like Silent Night or something like that. I got it in is it the one that's written and drawn by Frank Miller? Maybe I'm thinking about something different. Or drawn by Frank Miller, not written. But I've got it in a leather-bound Frank Miller Batman. Yeah, so it's like Batman.
It's 239. 239.
Oh, okay, I'm thinking something different.
Too. Yeah, there was a Christmas story in like one of those super spectaculars that had Frank Miller's first Batman or something like that in it.
Yeah. So I am thinking about something different. Another one, to help his little girl, he goes rogue and he tries to kill his boss. Batman finds a mysterious sleigh and reindeer to ride to him. For the guy to not go through it and kill his. I did. It is really. Here we are again. Let's see. Dark Admiral, Grand Admiral is saying fear number 10. Man-Thing finds a baby being abandoned in the swamp and seeks retribution against those who did it. Henry is saying Grim Reaper single. Okay, yep. We've got that one. Clint has given this a 10. Are we rating the FF cover or AM? It's up to you what you guys want to do. What we are bringing up are our 10. Well, it's supposed to be 10, but Dom's not here. But we're talking about 4 of our favorite single issue comic books. We do recommend. We do invite you guys to share. That's why I'm reading the comments to see if you guys can tell us about some, which we've gotten a couple. Let's see. As far as single issue stories, I think Teen Titans and the Uncanny X-Men, says one slick. No argument here. Once again, these are very fluid. We could probably come up with so many more. And Teen Titans Uncanny X-Men is one of them. That is one of the greatest single issue stories ever written. First appearance of the Source Wall, by the way. Yeah, I think Eric and I have sung its praises tons. Every time I have one in the comic book auction, which I gotta not, because I need one on my wall. The problem is I would want to get a comic book frame I could actually unfold the comic cover to, so because it's an amazing cover. All right. Let's see. All right, let's move on here, and we will go to our third. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, please include your favorite. And if you just popped in and you're not a part of the crew, tell us one of your favorite. Jump in, be a part of the crew. Tell us. Everybody's welcome to chip in on this one, because I want to find out what you guys think is awesome. All right, Eric, what is your book 3?
The next one is Avengers 160, following the Graviton story, which had followed up the Atuma, Doctor Doom. And the Avengers have been really on the go for about 10, 12 issues. And so this was like the change of pace issue where the regulars went off to go back to their own books and whatnot. And it was the 5 you see on the cover, left at the mansion. Wonder Man had just, come back from the dead, and there was still a lot of questions about him. They knew that the Vision had Wonder Man's brain patterns. So, and they had fought in 2 issues earlier, and then basically came to an understanding. In this issue, the Grim Reaper shows up, to find out for sure if Simon really is his brother, and puts them on trial. And he gives them all these like bands that if they get out of line, he shocks them. And when he finally, he's not. There comes a point in the story where he tries that on Simon, and they don't work because Simon's physiology has completely changed, and he gets up and, to use one of your quotes, beats the teetotaling hell out of his brother. And it's just really well done. I mean, it's, the trial or the mock trial is interesting. The beginning of the friendship between Wonder Man and the Beast, the understanding between the Vision and Wonder Man. It has nothing to do with the story, but Jim Shooter's run on the Avengers was very, very underrated. The man could write, and this was, wrote this one. So I know he was writing at the time, but whoever wrote it, whether it was him or somebody else, excellent story. George Perez art, always a plus. And I figured, if nothing else, I would add this, in the spirit of having just finished Wonder Man myself.
Good show, by the way. Not a Wonder Man show, but good show. Yeah. All righty. And by the way, Clint is giving your decision a 9. Okay, let's see. What are we on? We're on our book 3. Now I'm like, okay, which one do I want to talk about last? I'm looking at my two remaining here. You know what? One is just a blast. It's just so much fun. I'm going to go with the more serious one. And I realized that I did 2 Marvel, 2 DC. This is the other Marvel. And it is Daredevil issue number 191. this is, by the way, after the resurrection of Elektra, that Daredevil has no idea happened at this point in time, but he does know that Bullseye killed Elektra. And so he goes into the hospital where they have Bullseye. For those of you who don't know, what happened was he let him drop. He let him drop to his death, and Bullseye didn't die. He ended up getting very broken. He ended up in a hospital. Daredevil shows up. He's got a gun, and he decides they're going to play roulette. And he's telling a story. All throughout this, he's telling a story about this kid and his dad. The dad is a little bit questionable. He meets him as Matt Murdock. He's his lawyer. And all along, he's watching this kid. The father isn't exactly nice to him. It doesn't come off as abusive, but he's very brash. And some of the advice he gives his son is not the best. And the kid would say, well, no, I'm Daredevil. You know, he kind of lives this life of fantasy where he has his own power. And he tells kids he's Daredevil, and he even assigns other superheroes to his friends, your Black Widow and your Hawkeye and so forth, to which a lot of them just think he's weird. So we're along with this story where Daredevil's talking about it's kind of like the kid, one slick brought up the Killing Joke. It's kind of like the opening scene of the Killing Joke where Batman comes in and he says, you know, one of us is going to get killed eventually. That's what Daredevil is doing in this one. He's sitting and he's talking not only about the history between Daredevil and Bullseye, but he's telling the story of this kid. And he's talking about the father, and he's talking about him as Daredevil. He says, I felt wonderful. Here's this kid who loves Daredevil so much he wants to be him. And you know, and I feel good because, you know, I'm bringing this into the world. You know, people are being inspired, you know, kind of patting himself on the back. But in the end, something happens where Daredevil has to take down the kid's father, and he does it in front of him. So all of a sudden, the kid, he's lost. He doesn't know. He doesn't have a moral compass anymore. And I love this book because, once again, themes. This one questions what it's like to be a superhero. It's like, you ever hear that Charles Barkley one time? He goes, I'm not a role model. Everybody around him says, yeah, you are. You're just a bad one. You know, that's what this is all about. You know, superheroes do what they do for some reason. Maybe they want to help. Maybe they want revenge or whatever. But what is the aura? What is the personality? What are they putting out in the world for somebody to grab onto? The people who admire them, are they admire him because of his heroics? Or are they admired because he beats the shit out of the right people? And who are the right people when they do it? This comic book is excellent in the fact that it asks those questions. And, of course, lets the readers decide. And it's also brought up because I think in Daredevil issue number 200 or something, he goes against Bullseye, and Bullseye says something. I had such respect for you when you came in and you had the roulette and everything, and you find out that he actually never put bullets in the gun. He says, when I found out your gun was empty, though, I knew I had to kill you again. So something along those lines in a later issue. But this one is such a great story, such a very well written story. Art's always good, and this time I don't Frank Miller, but I do know it's good art, and I don't know. Excellent. Am I on? Eric? Okay.
Yeah, you are, but you're just roboting real bad for a minute.
Okay. Yeah. Have you read this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a good book. That is such a good book. Let's see. One Slick is bringing up the Killing Joke, which, yes, fantastic. That I'm not somebody who turned on that story. I love that story. I was trying to avoid the big ones because, you know, we know Mad Love, we know Killing Joke and such. I wanted to share these forgotten ones, but hey, if you guys bring them up, awesome. Dude, Clint. Now, of course, this is a 2-issue story, so you would have to pick one or the other. But Silver Surfer Parable is a 2-issue story. Awesome.
Is that the one that Mobius did?
Yeah, about Galactus being people worshiping Galactus as a god. Yeah. Brain, don't you think the DD corner box should have him saying? I figure I'd let you do that. There you go. Austin saying another comic I really like is a more recent one, Brody's Ghost, a 6-part Dark Horse graphic novel series. A little bit off. We could talk about graphic novels or storylines. A little bit off on this when we're talking about individual issues. But we could make next week the story. Have we done story? What was the last one we did? What was last week's? Let's see. No, last week's was Moments. But we could do storylines. Yeah. A guy named Brody hits rock bottom to be dumped street begging with his guitar until a teenage ghost girl shows up that he can only see and has to help get her out of purgatory by solving some murders. All right. Let's see. Henry, Uncanny X-Men 117, the origin of Professor X. He is learning his power. He gets into a mind war with a mall frock. I love that. Actually, I wrote a Magneto story. It's very much like The Killing Joke as well. It has Professor X and Xavier sitting there talking, and it's very much ends the same, by the way, if anybody read this, but it's basically them talking about you've come after my X-Men, you've come after my students, I can't have that, or you've done things where we need to stop you, you are giving mutant kind a bad name, you are making things more difficult. And Eric lays it out. Eric just, this is why, blah blah blah, you can't trust him. He makes his point very well. And he says, I need you to stop, Eric. You just need to know you need to stop. And Eric and Magneto gives his whole, one day we'll do the battle. And if it comes to it, it comes to it. And he puts on the helmet. And Professor Xavier says, that your last word? That's all you got to say? We're just going to keep fighting? And he says, yes. And then Magneto falls right over. And you find out that helmet didn't do dick, because Professor Xavier is supposed to be the greatest mind in the world, the greatest telepath. And he's been letting Magneto think, because he's always wanted to reach him rather than defeat him. And he just shuts Magneto down. And he walks away. I did that because if you ever read the X-Men, the first thing in every big story they do is take out Professor X, because Professor X could solve every problem. So they always took him out, and I always wanted to write a story that was very much like that. Anyway, X-Men 117, also great story. The Death of Superman issue from MK, that individual last issue with the single panels and everything. And that was brought up during the Moments, especially the end where, for those who would call him colleague, for those who call him friend and so forth. That was great. It's issue number 75, MK. It's weird. The only stories I come up with are multi-part issues. I know I've read some good singles. It is kind of difficult. I got to admit, when I first started, I was like, holy crap. What I did to kind of light the fire, I actually looked up best single story. And it was like, oh, wait, no, that reminds me of this. That reminds me of that. And and that brought me to what my number one is. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. Whoops, I'm really not paying attention tonight. First, the not ranking, then the single issue focus. Yeah. We decided to have ourselves an impromptu date night last night. I kind of threw my wife under the bus because it really went like this. I haven't had a margarita in a long time. You want to go to Savage's? So she said that, and I said, you want to go to Savage's? I will take every opportunity to take Gail out. I mean, even though we could talk right here, a lot of times we just kind of, watch TV, do other things. But when we're out, we're focused on each other, and we have great conversations over, in this case, booze and apps. And we paid $20 for the whole night. It was a great night. All right. I recently rediscovered the original Alien Legion and enjoyed issues 13 and 16, says Jackson Reichert. Well, feel free to include the story. At that point, I guess we're going to round the last lap. I wish Dom showed up. I saved his covers and everything, and I love what Dom has to say about comics. He knows his shit, and he does know a lot of different books. I will share them in respect. I will share the books that he wanted to share as well. But for now, Eric, what is your book number 4?
Okay, first we're going to do Post of the Night. With the rise of self-driving vehicles, it's only a matter of time until there's a country song where the guy's truck leaves him.
Okay, that's funny.
Eric Alper, just sub him or whatever, follow him. He does these all day long, and they're freaking hysterical. The puns he comes up with for using song lyrics and things like that. Never political. It's just all humor. Anyway, last one. Spider-Man 248, the second story.
Nice.
I don't even know if I need to talk about this. We've all seen this. I should have gone with something, maybe not as obvious, but basically it's a kid that's, a huge Spider-Man fan, wants nothing more to meet him. They arrange a meeting, and they talk, and he wants to know his real identity. And Peter, he's reluctant at first, and then he pulls off his mask and tells him who he is, and they bond over that. And then he goes, "You can't tell anybody," and he goes, "Of course." He leaves, and you find out that basically he was in a terminal care facility, and the boy's only got like a week or so left to live. And it's just a heartbreaking story. And this, and it's, I said, something, it's held up for 40 plus years.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked this one, by the way. I was wondering, I was like, okay, if I don't pick this, well, Eric, I know this is one you mentioned, but once again, as I said about the moments, this is a list that we could do this more than once. There are so many great single issue stories. I'm glad you picked this one. I think it's kind of funny that I couldn't tell you what the Thunderball story was. I'm guessing they fought. Yeah, but the kid who collected Spider-Man is one of those you read and it just sticks with you. I do believe they also made it an episode of the 90s Spider-Man TV show. So a lot of 90s kids probably learned it from that. It's a very famous, very like you said, it's a heart-wrenching kind of story. It's excellent. It deserves its spot on any one of these lists, whether it was this one or a future one. It's fantastic story, this one. I'm glad you included this one. All righty. My last story. I'm going in the other direction. The heart-wrenching, this is the heart-wrenching one. I'm going into one that is all about true superheroics and is actually a fun issue. And it is, whoops, let me find it. There it is. It is The Flash, Wally West, issue number 54. And this one is called No One Dies. It says Free Fall in Scarlet, but the story itself is called No One Dies. And it starts off all about there's a terrorist group, and Wally West stops them. And he actually says the words, I'm the Flash, and because I'm the Flash, no one dies today. And he stops them, and they have to transfer the prisoners. They're transferring these terrorists that he stopped on an airplane. Turns out some of the other passengers are with these terrorists, and they decide to break them out. And I think he's shot at. I read this morning, but I still forget some. But something happens where Flash just goes into automatic super speed, and he takes care of his problem. And then when he comes down out of his speed, the wind's rushing, and he realizes part of the plane has been blown off. And someone tells him that this stewardess that he met, she was funny to, she was kind to him. She was funny. They talked about, hopes and dreams. And they really do set up the stewardess. So you do care about what happens. And this is about halfway through the book. You already get like 10 or so pages of a great battle, the whole setup. They take time to set up this story, so you give a shit about the main part of the story, which is the stewardess gets sucked out of the airplane. The Flash actually has a moment of doubt. She's already dead. The wind pressure, the force of the wind would have killed her. It would have been hit. She would have been hit like like she hit a wall. She's already dead. I shouldn't, I don't fly. He's having doubts about whether or not he should do anything. But we're also, by the way, one of the great things about this book is in the beginning, you actually get a story about how his speed can cut momentum. So if he goes down, he goes back up, he grabs them, it kind of kills their momentum. And that's how he saves people who are falling. But then he tries this. He goes, he says, I don't know. She's already dead. I could jump out. I'm gonna try to. I could get killed, but I might be trying to save a corpse. But he's a hero, so he jumps out of the airplane, and he uses his speed to kind of catch up, because he's like, I have no idea how long she's been falling. I was in super speed mode. That could have been, a long time for them, even though it was a short time for himself. And he catches up to her, only to find out that his he's trying to get to her. He actually passes her because his shield, which works for him when he's running to protect him from the wind, is now hurting him. So he cannot slow his legs down. He can't do anything. He grabs on the girl and they're falling, and he's actually running in the air, trying to create anything that ends up being a cushion, trying to find anywhere that he could make it so they don't fall to their deaths. It's one of those things, and this is something I got to tell you. I love this run of the Flash, because unlike the Barry Allen, for as fun as it is, and by the way, I think the Barry Allen books ended way better than they began, but this explored what having super speed meant, and I think this is one of the ways that it did. It's an incredible story, fantastic, and a lot of fun. And that's why I have it on my list. I know you like this. Do you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, in a second. I know. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm almost positive we did a retrospective on that back when we were doing those on Wes's channel, but I don't think you ever released it. Yeah, it's a great story. Fantastic. And it's just like the couple of words they share at the end of the story when they're safe. And I always thought this would have been, it worked out great because Linda Park's a great character, but at the time they weren't a couple, and I kind of wanted to see them get together.
Yeah, I like the whole bit where he's thinking he hasn't eaten in a long time. He had actually told the lady that he needed something to eat, and she went to look for something, and when he's falling, she just starts feeding him peanuts. And I love that segment, because it also makes me think that maybe she was preparing something when she got sucked out of the airplane. But yeah, it was really good. Austin tells us, okay, single issue. Here's one. I love Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 21. I'm a sucker for wedding issue stories. Peter and MJ are so excited, but also wrestle with the reality of the two of them being from such different worlds. Grand Admiral is saying, don't apologize. You need time with your wife. But Clint's saying, apologize more. Peter, being from a humble middle-class family struggling to pay rent, while Mary Jane is a high society socialite, and they both decide yes. But Mary Jane did also come from humble beginnings. Let's see. Talking about the kid who collected Spider-Man, Grand Admiral saying, this one belongs on the list. I knew someone would pick it. Is that 3 issues so far that deal with kids idolizing their heroes? Well, yeah, I guess so, right? There was mime for the Daredevil. There was the Fantastic Four, and now we had the kid who, yeah. What if number 3? Thor quits the Avengers. Iron Man makes armor for the rest of the team versus the Hulk and Submariner. Stark dies. That is fantastic. By the way, I used to do what if issues, and I do have a video here that I actually go through the book. So please check that out. A hard-hitting one for once was Green Lantern 85, Neil Adams, the Speedy drug issue. Yeah, I remember that one. When he opens the door and there's Speedy shooting up. I also, by the way, like the drug issues for Teen Titans. When I was a kid, they were appropriate for me. I was 13, 14 around there when they came out. So, to watch.
Drug abuse.
Say again?
Were you contemplating a life of drug abuse and it stopped you?
Not a whole life, but I figured I would dabble. I was thinking I think I might become a meth head.
That's the problem with those books. They all focused on drugs. There wasn't one PSA comic book that said, "Hey, you, guy in Northern Kentucky, put the fucking beer down."
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
I
remember I did want to be. I did want to become a meth head, but my dad was like, "You're in Florida. It's cocaine or nothing." So I didn't really like cocaine. So I decided I'm not going to do any of it. Honorable mentions. Death to Captain Marvel, Giant-Sized Defenders number 3, says Henry. I've recently compiled a pretty big list of 88 comic wedding issues on a League of Comic Geeks, 5 of which are Silver Age, alternate reality Superman marries Lois, says Austin. Black Spider saying, "What up, fellas?" Jackson says, "Meth is hard," and Clint is saying, "E for instance." Well, we were talking about our... Oh.
You have to say, Black Spider.
Black Spider.
Yeah, it's sung to the tune of Boris the Spider, only black.
Oh, all right. Dom did have some books. I got to tell you, 2 of them I don't know. Once again, I did invite him here. One of them was Rising Stars number 2. Never read Rising Stars, but the way Dom sells this book, I got to tell you, I'm very now interested in reading Rising Stars.
It was big at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again,
it garnered a lot of critical acclaim, and I never read it either. But apparently, it's better than a Spider-Man run. Apologies to anybody that liked the Straczynski Spider-Man run. I was not among them.
His second book was Gen X, the 1/2 issue from Wizard. Never read that, so I can't say anything about it. I do know Jim's a big Gen Xer, so, or Gen 13, not Gen X, Gen 13. But yeah, I've never read this. I couldn't tell you anything about it. And I can tell you about his third. I do have information about his third book, which was X-Men issue number 155. This is before Belasco took Ileana. She's still a little girl. And Kitty Pryde is putting her to bed and decides to tell her a story. And basically, she kind of characterizes everybody where, like, Wolverine's a little troll. Colossus, of whom she is in love with, is the big hero. Nightcrawler's a little kind of chibi sort of creature called Bamf. Storm is actually a storm goddess. And it is and Lockheed is this giant dragon, by the way, but I don't think Lockheed was actually there. No, this is just a dragon. Or maybe I'm mixing, because there's another story time when maybe I'm mixing them. But it's a really fun fantasy story that puts the X-Men in a different light. You know, it's one of those in-between issues. X-Men, a lot of times back in the day, the X-Men would have their moment, and then there would be like a couple of issues off. There'd be some adventure or some action in there, but it was really like they would have a baseball game or something along those lines, and something happens where they're taking a day off. and then it's back to the next big adventure. And this is one of those stories. It really is a fun book. I'm not surprised actually I am a little bit, because I think this is one of those comics that kind of get buried these days. But that was Dom's third issue. So there you go. 10 of the greatest single issue comics of all time, especially in our opinion. Let's see. It's cute, says Jackson. Let's see. I'm going with Secret Wars #4. Awesome cover. And the story had quite a bit of character development and how it actually made sense, and how they were surprised and such. Oh, yeah, with the battle and such. The issue of X-Men has the most amount of N-bombs dropped by... No. That was crazy. That Uncanny was on my list. I'll have to choose another, says Jim Sorensen. No, the pet dragon wasn't until 12 or 13. Yeah, it was issue 166. Like I corrected myself. I knew he made his first appearance in 166. But the big black dragon in the story. Oh, that's right. It was based on the jet. That was the Lockheed. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that was what it was based. I remember there being a dragon. I was like, wait a second, different Lockheed. There you are. All righty. Well, there you go, gang. I hope you enjoyed that. I like these Wednesdays. I like talking about comics and our favorite moments and all that. We haven't done a negative one. That's fun too, by the way. Well, Eric, it was suggested you want to do 3 or 4 of your favorite storylines.
Sure.
You know what? I'm going to put a limitation, just one limitation on both you and I. Either that or we'll make it number 10. No Korvac saga. That's too easy.
You know what I was just doing? I was looking up to see if we actually did that issue of Flash, which I'm almost positive we did. I can get maybe some ideas from that, but I also realized why West pulled the plug on them.
Because they make no views.
That's being polite.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one minute of Wes bitching about Gretchen Felker Martin got more views than probably any 10 of these put together.
Yep.
It's a sad hobby.
Well, unfortunately, it seems like when it comes to comic book channels, people have already picked the people they want to hear about comics. Comics Explained. What's the other guy? The fat guy with glasses that nobody likes, and the comic book historian. People like that. Those are the ones that are listening to talk about what's in the books, and basically they just read them to you.
Yeah,
which is okay. I've done that, but it's hard to make a channel about comics because nowadays people don't give a fuck. A lot of people don't give a fuck about comics. Excuse me, I just dropped the F-bomb. Damn. They don't want to know about what's inside do you ever hear Comic Tom? Oh, this is a good book, and because of this and this and this. No. Oh, this is the #1 book because people are out there buying. No, they're out there buying it because you just said it's the #1 book anyway. And a lot of people are doing that. Swaggle House, Mint Hunter, some dude with a square jaw who, god damn, I just don't like him, by the way. Probably a great guy, but when I watch his videos, I'm like, I don't trust you. Yeah, I watch a lot of this. Well,
especially,
but it's hard to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Past, especially when you go back into the past and review old storylines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I said, and almost every one of them, predated, Wes. I mean, he had to go back and read all of them, put them all together. I mean, yes, he had to work harder on those than any other video he did for the least amount of views. And so, unfortunately, that's why those ended. It was great for me and Joe. We just brushed up on stories we knew and got to talk about them for an hour. Poor Wes had to put in all his time and effort and then, get shit to show for it.
Yeah. I get it. But, and he's right. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes you're told what kind of channel you're supposed to have. meaning you'll put out a video like the comic book covers. They do 100. By the way, thank you to everybody who comments on the comic book covers, on the videos after they're posted. You have actually got them back over 100. I do appreciate it. For a little bit there, it was like these things cannot make 100, but comments have started to come in, and it pushes the algorithm even just a little bit. So please, when a live stream is posted, go there and make a comment. Talk about what happened in the video. And I'll tell you what, I do have on Ko-Fi where you can commission a video. But if it gets more comments on there, which will help the video and help the channel, put your suggestions into the comments and I will put them in to the shows. I'm not saying everyone's going to make it or it's going to be done tomorrow, but that would be a great way, hopefully, to kind of push everything through. Let's see. Do you? I forgot what issue Infinity Gauntlet where Thanos was on the cover saying, "Come and get it." Oh, hey! Hello, Dom. Oh, hello, Dom.
Evening.
How's it going?
I just came back from trivia night.
Ah, okay.
So I received a message from the DMs rather late.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Yeah. I'm okay with letting him talk about his books, Eric, if you are.
I'm fine.
All righty, Dom.
All right. Well, the first one is issue number 2 of Rising Stars by J. Michael Straczynski, and this is one of my favorite like single issue story because it does like tie into the overarching arc, because like it involves like the mystery of the serial killer who is hunting down like the specials like born in the small town in Indiana.
Okay. What is it about issue number 2?
Well, issue number 2 is issue number 2 is where the mystery is kickstarted because like the character like on the front like he is one of the specials like whose ability involves like invulnerability. However, it doesn't because even though he has invulnerability, it doesn't grant him like complete enhanced durability or superhuman strength. It just grants him invulnerability, but there's actually a catch to it. Because even though he is an invulnerable man, it actually prevents him from experiencing like pleasures and like other senses.
Okay. I was telling everybody, I said, I don't know anything about this, but you talk so highly of Rising Stars. I actually want to read this now. I want to read this story because of how much you do. When I do, we haven't done one in a while, but when I do read this, we'll do a what you're reading on it. Okay, let's get to your second book, which was...
Quite briefly, with Rising Stars is quality material, and written by JMS, before he unfortunately drunk in the Kool-Aid years later. But if you're getting like some similarities to Tim Kring's Heroes, because think of this as well as James D. Hudnall's Espers from Eternity Comics. Think of them as the inspiration for Heroes.
Okay. All righty. And your second book was Gen 13 1/2.
Yes. And this one is collected from the... Oh, excuse me. Well, this one is collected in the starting over deluxe edition from DC Comics. Because even though among like other titles that were part of the wider Image universe back then under Jim Lee's Wildstorm Studios before he left Image and sold Wildstorm to DC Comics. So take takes place after the 4-issue miniseries and it features like the same creative team, and it focuses on the team to like going on the road like after they escape from international operations. So when the car was running low on gas they encountered a superpowered being called the traveler and not understanding like what she's doing, but is like causing havoc, even though like she doesn't mean to. But she's so dedicated to her mission, like it caused her to have tunnel vision, and so Caitlin and the others like immediately jumped into action before she can cause like any further damage.
Okay. And I actually talked about, I didn't know about the other two, but I did know about your third book. So I did talk about it, but let's hear your perspective. X-Men number 153.
Oh, what can I say? Look, it's one of the many iconic single stories like in X-Men. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I did speak a little bit more on it, but there you go.
Because like what gives it its charm like, is like it gives readers a breather after everything like the team has to go through, and having Kitty telling Ileana like a fairy tale like bedtime story. So like with the X-Men as these various characters, like it brings a smile to people's faces.
All right. By the way, you talking about this actually made me realize another book that could have gone on this list that, like I said, there are so many that we aren't done. This is a topic that can be revisited so easily. Because I just thought of New Teen Titans issue number 20 by Perez and Wolfman, where Wally West is writing a letter home to his family. There are so many good individual stories. And like I said, it's hard to find YouTube talking about anything like this. It's all, this is what the book's worth, which that was kind of my point. Black Spiders, I mentioned Comic Tom never talks about what's inside. And he says Comic Tom, not talk about comic source. Yeah, I know. That's why I was mentioning it. There seems to be more channels now that are wanting to tell you how valuable a book is. And look, I do an auction, so I'm kind of guilty of that myself. But they want to tell you how valuable a book is rather than whether it's good or not. And as Eric was saying, a channel like Wes's, he gets on and he goes, "Hey, he's doing what I did 5, 6, 7 years ago." He's doing what we all did. He and not so much Perch. Perch does different things. But what ends up happening is you put up a video like one you want, and it might be a video like this, and it'll get 50, 60. In my opinion, in my nerfed channel, will only get maybe 100 views. But then I will put up a video, and I did one about like the Comicsgate video that this guy did, and that got thousands of views. Or I did one where I made, DC Comics hates you because of this. DC Comics or anybody blank hates you because blank. That is a title. I know the Black Pills use it, and I know why too. Because blank hates you because blank, that'll sell every freaking time. That is one of the best titles you can put up there. That kind of video, it works. Because that works on the emotion. That gets everybody riled up. This thing that pisses you off, I agree that it pisses you off, and here's how I agree. And you go, yeah, that pisses me off. Oh my gosh, I agree with that. And you watch it and maybe even share it. Doesn't this guy say exactly how I feel? Here, watch this. And somebody sees your share and goes, oh my gosh, yes, I get pissed off. Therefore, I'm going to listen to this person be pissed off. I did that for a long time as well. I know that if I go back to that again, the channel will do a hell of a lot better. And I was thinking about it as a supplement to the stuff I like to do, because I did do a good combination of comics and complaining and such. But God, it's so exhausting trying to find shit to complain about all the time. Let's see. One Slick is bringing up the magazine size Afterlife with Archie, which leads to the regular series and the spinoff, says One Slick. Have all of my latest stash of comics shipped. I sent you a box, by the way, which came back because apparently you have 2 addresses and I used the wrong one. You get your mail at a PO box, and I tried to send it to the address because I went off of PayPal and not my own list. My own list, as you listed, is a PO box, and that thing came back to me, and it got resent today, along with a box for Jim. Let's see. Also, there's a Dom box out there going, Mill box, and a couple others. But there you go. But I will get the next box out to you this week. I haven't seen Comic Tom video in years. Not even. I stopped watching as well. It's just, yeah. Even before I get to mention it, the latest box showed up. Oh, cool. And one's on its way. Let's see. I love hearing about what was going on in the industry and how characters came to be, says Dark Admiral. That's the kind of stuff that I used to do that I would like to get over my fear of posting videos in order to do again. Talk about the history and the backstories and such like that. Some of the most popular videos on this channel, as a matter of fact, the Kirby video that my brother did, I asked him to do 3 Kirby videos, Timely, Marvel, and then post-Marvel. With the it was 4, I believe. It was Timely, Marvel, the DC universe, and then the Stan Lee Jack Kirby fight. And all 4 of the individual videos do well, and I collected them all, and that's one of the most popular videos on the channel. Also, I keep getting comments on the Yellow Kid, the Little Nemo videos. Comic Book Origins gets a lot as well. And let's see. Black Spiders. I was rereading Secret Wars. I almost forgot that the storyline changed the whole Marvel universe. That's pretty good. I wish things stayed, but that doesn't happen in the DC universe either. Incoming message from the big giant head. So Dom could just we let him do that. Black Spider says he's right. Rising Stars is great, but I never read the last 3 issues, says Black Spiders.
It's never too late.
And never too late, yeah. Let's see. Grand Admiral says, might have to look into Rising Stars. I know, right? When somebody's praising the hell out of something like that, you got to check it out. Let's
like
see.
I said, it's just... well, thank you. As I was saying, this is among like one of J. Michael Straczynski's best works before he drank the Kool-Aid. And Rising Stars. Well, for anyone who is a fan of heroes, then you will enjoy Rising Stars.
Okay. Austin is saying, here's another cool Batman issue. Batman 310, the late 70s, during the time he was living in an apartment in Gotham. It comes back to the manner of finding out that Gentleman Ghost took it over. Wait a second. I think I bought Strange Apparitions recently. It was in a 70% off box at the did I put that down? No fucking way I would have put that down. Did I buy that? Strange Apparitions, by the way, is one of my favorite trade paperbacks, Batman trade paperbacks that takes place in the 70s. Eric's also, by the way.
Well, speaking of like trade paperbacks, like DC is still kicking Marvel's butt in that department, and West actually talked about like where Marvel Comics is at, like in the market, like in the marketplace, and they're still like at the bottom, while DC is coming out on top. While it would have been nice like if DC actually kept up the momentum of Rebirth, but like before deciding to shelve it. So at least to their credits, where they are finally listening to the people again.
Austin saying drink for mentioning his brother's Kirby videos. Hey, sometimes you're proud of something. Also, I would say watch mine and Eric's video where we talk about the greatest Superman artists of all time. I'm very proud of that one. Very proud of how it was put together. You know, I was a fan of Heroes. That definitely piqued my curiosity, says Grand Admiral. Yeah, I know. Clint says, Perch talks about comics like a politician, 1,000 words to say nothing at all. He did one, I was thinking about doing an EFAP on. He did one where he answers or asks questions or something like that. Yeah. Questions for readers or from readers or something like that. I thought, okay, I would...
Questions from viewers. And that's the name of
the from viewers. It might be weird then for me to do a EFAP video about, because I thought he had questions like he was asking. I would love to answer them, but it'd be kind of weird taking his questions, and I might as well do it anyway.
Yeah, but Perch is also he's a longtime comic fan, and even though
I thought he had a store at one point in time. Didn't I hear that somewhere? Or?
Yes, he did. Yeah, and even though like he can't use the definition. Hey, don't do that. He the definition like of a moderate. He does have consistent positions, and he bend the knee to the mob.
Okay. I love comic historian. I like him too. I like him too. I was a fan of Heroes.
Before I jumped ship from him.
Who did you jump ship from? Who?
Comic historian.
Oh, okay. Which one died? I know some big comic book YouTuber died a couple of years back, right? Didn't they?
Yeah. He unfortunately died. It was actually no. But it wasn't. I didn't stop watching Comic Historian. It's actually Comics Explained. I stopped watching Comic Historian. Benny.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, Benny. I actually continued watching him because unlike Comics Explained, Benny actually was critical at the state of the comic book industry.
Yeah. Comics. I remember he made a challenge to people. I said, okay, come talk, or I'll talk on yours, but he was going after, I think he was going after Richard. He wanted to get the big fish, and I would guess I wasn't big enough for him to debate, but so I did my own video about it. I think I've got it on here, England Team versus Comics Explained, with his points and such. Yeah,
been like a great opportunity if you and Benny actually touch bases and do a live stream play together. Just talk about comics and also going over like your sentiments on the whole thing and how the industry can be saved, because the solutions are there, but the industry are too stubborn to not only solutions but actually admit that things have been like going down the toilet for a while.
Well, the bad thing about saving comics now that isn't mentioned, I watch Perch, I watch others, I don't think this is mentioned. We are now at the worst position we've ever been in. When we first started, when we first started, when it was the OG CG, and this is before we were even CG, I think write good stories, get good artists. I think that could have made a difference, because you still had new people coming in based on.
But that's also good editors.
Get good editors, yeah. You had people interested. You had people going, wait a second, if the movies are made out of these things, what's going on? It wasn't like Batman '89 or anything bringing people in as much as that did, but you would still get people curious. So if you wrote good stories, if you made good art and all that kind of stuff, you may have hooked somebody. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, I don't even think that'll work. Nowadays, in order to make good stories and do good art, in order to get even those books out, you have to change the media that most people consume, and that's movies and TV. And unfortunately, we do not see any any sign that Marvel wants to do that. One of the things that we did talk about was that at the time, at the peak of the Marvel universe, the MCU, you had a female Thor, you had a black girl as Iron Man, not Ironheart. Like if they said, okay, here's Riri Williams, here's Ironheart, but here's Iron Man, and it's Tony Stark, nobody would have a problem with Riri Williams, except for would probably have still been written like shit. I mean, as you know, I know you are the most anti-Bendis person I can think of. But the thing is that at that time, Falcon was Captain America. Before he was Captain America in the MCU, people would go, oh, I want to read Captain America. Why is the Falcon, by the way, should never have been Captain America. I've said that many times.
I agree.
But now you got the same. Look at this. They made a great show. It's not Wonder Man because this guy they're calling Wonder Man, first of all, is black. Second of all, Wonder Man was kind of an egotistical prick. He was a fun character. This one is a little bit sad sacky. I'm not saying it's bad. I actually really do like the show. I just don't think it's a wonder. It's Wonder Man in name only, you know. But the fact that they used his powers so little, I don't think this was supposed to be a superhero story at all. Anyway, I think this was supposed to be an answer to superhero fatigue, and I think that's why a lot of people will hate Wonder Man if they watch the TV show.
Well,
But the problem is you don't have anything that's connecting the media people see most to the books. At least not on, or you won't get that on the other side either. If you like James Gunn or not, doesn't matter. James Gunn's not doing comic book movies based on comics. So the media that people consume the most, there's no connecting thread. And comic books don't really sell by themselves except for the old farts like us. And a lot of old farts like us are dropping it because it's not catering to us anymore. So anyway, I don't know. I actually have no easy answer to how to fix the industry anymore. Anyway, I ranted if you want to talk.
Yes. What I was saying earlier, people are not tired of cape fiction. What people are tired of are objectively bad written cape fiction and in other genres as well. Yeah. I don't know. Good night, One Slick, about 4 minutes ago. Let's see. He went after Doug Ernst also, if I remember correctly. Oh, Benning. Yeah. No, actually, Doug Ernst happened to be in Moon Knight. He was a bad guy in Moon Knight. Somebody wrote him in. No, it was one of the writers that Marvel Comics had, and it was just it's not only disrespectful, but also very stupid.
Jim Sorn says, my other single issue, X-Men Teen Titans, X-Men 200, the original Trial of Magneto, Giffen Legion #4. Monel takes out the Time Trapper. That's a good one, by the way. Move the Needle was a good idea. It's a shame that it didn't stick, says Grant. Well, people started eating each other on that. Where it'd be like, you get this book, why it's woke. Well, at the time it was SJW. We didn't use the term woke. Let's see. So yeah, it was, and I came to the defense of one guy. He bought a Mags Visaggio book, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's to show that we're the ones that buy comics. So listen to us because we're the ones that are going to spend money on your product. Industry needs to realize that they need conservatives. They do, and they're only you only got one voice, so it's monotonous. I'm out and have been for a long time. While on new books, I was going to pick up the Energon Universe books, but the artist flapped his gums and put a nail in it. Says Grand Admiral. That's another thing I would say. I would say, okay, here's Marvel Universe, here's DC Universe. This is our Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. You talk comics here. You've got your own. You talk politics there. You do not talk comics there. There you don't talk. If you're going to talk politics, you don't talk comics. Comics, politics, never the twain shall mix. And that way it would be more focused and people don't have to look. John Byrne was an ass. Everybody heard about it, but maybe not so much, you know. It was you weren't privy to how much of an ass John Byrne was while he was writing all these great books. You would hear stories, or this person was a dick, you know, but you didn't get that in the 80s and 90s. I'm not saying they weren't. Classically, if you've read it, yeah, they were. I mean, hell, if you read the history of Marvel Comics in the 1970s, they were all just a bunch of far leftist potheads that end up writing some of the best comic books we'll ever see. I don't know. Anyway. Let's see what we got. The Ultimate Universe, Wonder Man was black, so I'm calling it Nick Fury syndrome. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, with Nick Fury, I guess the movie universe would be based more on the Ultimate than
the original.
Plenty of stuff to read that came before. I was a regular reader, says Grand Admiral. That's what we're here for, kids. Let's talk about some back issues. With that, somebody mentioned favorite storylines earlier, Dom. So why don't we come up with 4 of our favorite storylines to talk about? Could be miniseries, could be maxi series, just so long as it's, you know. Yeah, I would like to see stories instead of something like the big ones. I would like to see, you know, the smaller ones, because everybody let everybody in the chat bring up No Man's Land and stuff like that. I would like to see what we could come up with. That might be a 2-issue, 3-issue, 4-issue, but I know there are some big ones that are going to come through. So I don't want to put a kibosh, but me and Eric have talked about the Korvac saga a lot, so I put the kibosh on that one. That's all, because it is fantastic, greatest Avengers storyline ever told. Yeah, let's see what else is out there. That's what I'm thinking. But that I'll put that restriction on me, not on you guys. All righty. With that, once again, we do invite you guys to join in. So come up with your 4 favorite storylines or stories within the series. You know, if it's a 2-issue or 3-issue or 4-issue in the series. We'll save miniseries and such like that for a whole different video. For now, we're looking for stories within the series. That be okay with you, Eric? Nope. Okay with you, Dom?
Okay with that. And Grand Admiral, to answer your question, yes, the Korvac saga has been collected.
I've got it in trade paperback downstairs. As a matter of fact, yeah, a lot of fun.
Yes.
Let's see. Is the Korvac? Yep. Don't think that the white staff of Marvel from the 80s weren't racist. Christopher Priest has some stories about white creators who we think are progressive, who are actually biased against. Oh, they're leftists. Of course, they're racist. They're far racist. For fuck's sake, they don't want voter ID laws because they think black people can't get IDs. I mean, which blows my mind, because they can't possibly think every black person driving is driving without a license.
Now remember, folks, leftists are not the same as liberals. There is a clear difference.
Let's see. Okay, Silver Surfer and Slavers is my favorite single issue story, and Parable is my favorite story, says Clint Love. Bring Parables. Let's talk about Parables. It's a great story and it deserves mentioning. But once again, I will try to post something to advertise. I need to advertise more. I'm told that. As a matter of fact, I'm making a little wall of books that are going to be in the auction to post tomorrow, so I could advertise about that. Good Lord. By the way, I packed everything into some boxes, some short boxes, to do an unboxing of all the books that came in. There's 5 freaking short boxes worth of books I got recently. They were all held up by the snowstorm, and they all arrived on the same day. And this is like weeks worth of bidding and such like that. Plus, I got to admit though, when I got the when I sold the comic, I kind of went a little bit nuts because I had the money in the pocket. But we got some great stuff to show off and for this auction. Jackson says, now I want cookies. That's always thanks. Storyline, not now. Jim, don't blow it now. Christ Crimson, Fairchild losing your powers, Panic in the Sky, Tom. That's for next week. Got some gift cards to my shop and wasn't sure what I wanted to pick up, so I'll definitely keep an eye out for these suggestions. I hope you enjoy them as much as we liked them. Well, you know what? Before we go, let's see. My 4 were Daredevil issue number 191. It was The Flash issue number 54. God Loves, Man Kills for the X-Men. And Animal Man issue number 5. Dom's was Rising Stars issue number 2. Gen 13, 1/2 from Wizard. X-Men issue 153. And Eric had Fantastic Four issue number 285. The Avengers issue number 160. Marvel 2-in-1 issue number 50. And Amazing Spider-Man 248, the second story. Nobody knows what happens in the first one, but the second story. With that, kids, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm glad you had a good time. Let us know, by the way, in the comments, what are some of the other stories or some of the other one issues that we should have brought up, and what are some of the greatest stories of all time that you might want to see in the next video, or suggestions for videos. We could use that. I need the comments to help boost the algorithm, get these videos posted a little bit better. And as always, I thank you very much for hanging out with us, and thank you very, very much for watching. You kids have a great night.
By the way,
go ahead. What's up?
Did anything good happen in the last 20 minutes? Because I've trained myself to, when I hear OGCG, it triggers my and I nodded off for 20 minutes.
All right. Well, I went past that part very quickly, but there you go. All right. Well, you kids have a great time. As always, thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.
Good night, kids.